Good evening, friends. President of the Institute, Amit, and CEO of our RBO, Shri S.K. Gupta ji, all my professional colleagues and the students. It's really a great pleasure for me to be here with all of you this evening to discuss a very important and very useful and a fantastic opportunity for every one of us, and that is IBC. I'm sure all of you by now would have heard a lot about IBC because it is the buzzword today. You open Economic Times, the headlines you will find related to the IBC. You open any business magazine, a lot of articles about the IBC. So what is this IBC? And what opportunities this IBC offers for every one of us? And I'm sure by now we all know that if you want to, IBC meaning insolvency professional, it's a very integral part of the IBC code, that is insolvency professional. And insolvency professional means you have to pass an examination which is known as limited insolvency examination conducted by IBBI, and when you pass this examination then you become qualified to practice as insolvency professional. So the agenda that we have today, friends, is to number one, cover as to what the IBC is broadly, understand IBC hai kya, and number two, also understand as to how to pass this examination. Let me tell you at the outset, when I appeared for this examination first time, I failed. I got only 58.5% score, and you need 60%, so I missed it by 1.5%. And I realized that this examination is not the typical examination that we write. When we did our cost accountancy course, that we have pen and paper, that examination is not the pen and paper examination. It's an examination of a different kind. So then I realized that this examination needs technique. You need to know what to prepare and how to prepare. Not only need to know what to prepare and how to prepare, but you also need to have a technique of taking the examination. So when you are taking the examination, you really got to be very systematic and meticulous in your approach in handling that examination. So second time when I appeared, and I'm happy that I got a pretty good score, passed the examination, and then I thought this is an opportunity which is available to all of us, and this knowledge must be spared and shared with everyone. So the same evening I sat down and wrote a complete article as to how to prepare for IBC exam, how to write the IBC exam, and everything. And I'm very happy to share with you that immediately after that I shared that article with everybody on all the groups that I'm a member of. And I'm very happy to share with you that every time nowadays when I go for any workshop or conference or seminar, I would always have one or two people coming and telling me that we read your article, and by reading your article, we have been able to pass the examination. And therefore, the idea of having this program with all of you is to share that technology with you, share that whole process with you. I intend to make this session interactive. So at any point in time, if you have any doubt, please do not hesitate to raise your question or your doubt. And Gupta ji made a very good suggestion in the morning. He said that we should record this session. So it's also being video recorded, and we would also be putting this. I would share the link with all of you and share the video with the institute, so it can be used for the benefit of everybody across the country on pan-India basis. Now, when we talk about the IBC, we need to understand few questions, and those questions are And those questions are, why we have such huge NPAs in this country? As we all know, that today the size of NPAs in this country is more than 12 lakh crore. And if you start counting this figure from the time of the independence, this figure is going to be absolutely mind-boggling. So we need to understand as to why the NPA size is so huge and who is responsible for such a huge quantum of NPA in this country. We also need to understand how these high NPAs impact economy of the country, how the menace of the high NPAs can be tackled, and in that context we need to understand what is IBC and why the need for the IBC arose in this country. तो ये बैकग्राउंड थोड़ा क्लियर होना बहुत जरूरी है और रिमेंबर इट इज इन द बैकग्राउंड ऑफ ऑल दिस दैट द IBC हैज बीन ब्रॉट इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस. IBC दैट इज योर इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी कोड. तो छोटा सा बैकग्राउंड दूंगा मैं आपको बिकॉज वो अगर अंडरस्टैंडिंग हमारी हो जाए तो हमको ये पूरी तरह से क्लियर हो जाएगा कि IBC किस लिए है. और अगर मैं और आप डिसाइड करते हैं टू प्रैक्टिस एज इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल, we will also become very clear in our mind as to what is the role that I have to play in IBC. So please remember, IBC is not merely an opportunity for all of us to earn our living. No, not at all. IBC, insolvency professional, role as an insolvency professional, please remember, is much more than the earning of living. The role that you will play as insolvency professional is you are going to contribute to the economy of this country. So that is the kind of role that you will have under the IBC, and that is the understanding all of us should have, when we talk about the insolvency. So, just to very quickly tell you, we got independence in August 1947. Likewise, Japan got independence in May 1947. Now, where is Japan today? And where we are today? Japan is supplying the technology and then bullet train to us, and we are buying the technology and bullet train from Japan. Now, why is so much of a difference between two economies when both the economies got independence around the same time? And the answer, of course, is very simple. The answer is the leadership in Japan worked on building the national character, national pride. And unfortunately and regrettably, somewhere we in this country failed in building the national character and the national pride in this country from the very beginning. As a result of this, what happened, where Japan was working for ensuring that the economy of the Japan comes up rapidly, in this country the situation was different altogether. Why such huge NPA? Such huge NPA because there was a nefarious nexus in this country between unscrupulous politicians, unscrupulous bureaucrats and unscrupulous businessmen. तो ये तीनों ने मिलके पूरी बैंकिंग सिस्टम का बंटाधार कर दिया. July 1969, I'm sure all of you would know, was the day when Mrs. Gandhi nationalized 14 banks in this country. Because prior to that, 341 banks in this country had become bankrupt. They had failed. So the objective was very good behind the nationalization, but remember, things did not improve. Things started becoming worse and worse and worse and worse. So therefore, the current leadership thought about it. And they said, why should you allow the national resources to be wasted and remain idle? Why not to bring them as part of the economy? And this is how the IBC has been brought into existence. So देखिए IBC का मकसद क्या है? The objective and the logic behind IBC is कि पूरे देश में जितने भी NPAs हैं, जितनी भी कंपनियां हैं जो बंद पड़ी हैं, उन कंपनीज को somehow turned them around. And when you turned them around, what happens? All those assets which otherwise lying idle, which otherwise one day will become dead, before that happens, bring them into the economy of this country and keep them rolling so that they start contributing towards the economy of the nation. Are you all with me? So this is the objective behind bringing this new law called IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. अब इसमें हमारा रोल बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. हम सब कहाँ एज कॉस्ट अकाउंटेंट, जनरल अकाउंटेंट्स, कंपनी सेक्रेटरीज, all the three professionals have a very, very positive role. And what that positive role is, what we are going to discuss. But as we go along, just to give you an overview, so this is your IBC. The whole code, the IBC 2016, is divided into 255 sections and 11 schedules. And just to give you, my objective is also to introduce the IBC to you, so that when you register for this exam, you have a clear idea as to what are the course content. What is that you will have to be prepare yourself for. So देखिए, the whole act is divided into five different chapters, and the first chapter just to give an idea as to this whole IBC code is divided in 5 different chapters, and the 2 most important chapters, everything is important of course, but the 2 most important chapters where you and I have a very prominent role to play. The one chapter is devoted to the corporate insolvency, and the one chapter is devoted to the non-corporate. So when you say corporate, that means it would comprise of the companies and the LLPs. And when you talk in terms of the non-corporate, this would comprise of insolvency resolution of partnership firms and individuals. As it stands today, the insolvency resolution for the partnership and the individual is yet to be notified. So currently the focus of the government is on the resolution of insolvency of the companies and the LLPs, because that is where the sizable chunk of the investment is locked up. To be very specific, there are 4 processes in the category of the corporates. So the first one is corporate insolvency resolution process. Now what does it mean? Let me explain to you in brief. It simply means अगर एक company is not paying the dues to the financial creditors and to the operational creditors. Now the financial creditors and the operational creditors can take this company to NCLT, file an application for insolvency resolution of this company. क्या मतलब है इसका? इसका मतलब ये है कि XYZ एक कंपनी है, मैं ICICI नहीं बोलना चाहिए, I am ICICI, and I have to recover money from this company. This company is not doing well, it is not paying me on time. So what I need to do is, I need to file an application with the NCLT as financial creditor. So when I file an application with the NCLT as financial creditor, and if my application is found with merit and accepted, then please pay attention, this is where it is very, very important. Then the board of directors of this company will be suspended with immediate effect. So the moment the application is admitted by the NCLT, the board is suspended. So that means the board of directors will not have any authority whatsoever. Then who will have the authority? The authority will rest in that case with insolvency professional. And who can be insolvency professional? Insolvency professional can be a person who is either a cost accountant or a chartered accountant or a company secretary or a lawyer who has got 10 years of post-qualification experience, plus who has passed the insolvency examination of IBBI, plus now who has completed compulsory training of 50 hours. अब देखिए, ये सुनने में बहुत सिंपल लगता है, but इसके ramifications बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, and that is what you and I should be very, very clear about it. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है that if I am appointed as IP of a company, insolvency professional of a company, then de facto I become the chief executive officer of that company for a limited period of 180 days. That means I will be the decision making, I will be the de facto CEO, run that company with a definite objective. What is that objective? That objective is that in the period of 180 days, I should find out a resolution plan. That means I should use my managerial capabilities and competence and resources to find out someone who is prepared to come in, take the company and turn it around. Now that is the role that I have to play as insolvency resolution professional, and this is a very, very good, very big thing. But this, of course, please pay attention, is not without responsibility. So अगर आपको, if you have to run a company as a CEO, obviously you need a lot of resources, you need a lot of infrastructure, you need a lot of leadership qualities, because running a company is completely different from running practice as a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, or as a lawyer. And that, please remember, is a big thing undoubtedly, but that is not something which is impossible, which of course all of us can definitely work it out. So what you have is corporate insolvency. अब देखिए क्या होगा? Yeah, please.
Before IBC, there were some issues like BIFR or Sikh Companies Act.
Yeah.
And they were having similar objectives.
Correct.
So, how is this different compared to that?
Yes, very good. I think this is a good question, Dhiren. That is the reason as to why IBC has been brought into existence. Prior to IBC, in India, there were a lot of other laws. Presidency Insolvency Act, Provincial Insolvency Act, BFR, SICA, and all that. But the government realized that they were not effective. You file an application for bankruptcy into the court, and that would go on for decades altogether without any outcome coming out of it. And by the time you will have an outcome coming out of it, what you will have? You will have that assets practically completely spoiled and is of no value. So that is why all those laws now stand recited, and now what you have is the IBC code. So IBC is now the governing law as far as the bankruptcy and insolvency in this country is concerned. So everything will fall under the jurisdiction of IBC now. So now what happens? So this company ABC, it has got a time. The insolvency professional has got a time of 180 days. जिस तारीख को एप्लीकेशन एडमिट होती है with the NCLT, from that date this gentleman initially is appointed for a period of 30 days as IRP, but I am not going into those nitty-gritties at this point in time for the simple reason because for that we will have some other session, longer session. So this gentleman will have a time initially of 30 days and then it can for be up to 180 days. 180 डेज में अगर इस कंपनी का रेजोल्यूशन प्लान तैयार नहीं होता है और एक्सेप्ट नहीं होता है बाय द एडजुडिकेटिंग अथॉरिटी, the resolution professional with COC can seek an extension with the adjudicating authority for a further period of 90 days. 180 दिन हो गए, 180 दिन में समाधान नहीं निकला, आपको चॉइस है कि आप 90 डेज का एक्सटेंशन मांग सकते हैं. Now remember, this extension is given only once. So अगर आपने सोचा कि 50 दिन में हो जाएगा and you ask for an extension of 50 days, 50 days extension is granted to you, now it doesn't work, you cannot go to the adjudicating authority for second time extension, there is no provision. But in the first time itself you can go for an extension of 90 days. अगर 270 दिन में भी कंपनी का रेजोल्यूशन प्लान नहीं आया, then this company will compulsorily go for liquidation. And why this company will compulsorily go for liquidation? Because that is the only way that can ensure that things are delivered in a time-wise manner. Are you all with me? So that is, perhaps in my understanding, this is the first law which is time-driven, completely time-driven. So अगर insolvency resolution नहीं हुआ, हो गया तो अच्छी बात है. Then the person who is submitting the resolution plan, he becomes the owner of the company and the management goes to him. He runs the company as per the plan that has been submitted by him and approved by the adjudicating authority. Doesn't happen, company compulsorily goes for the liquidation and the person who is acting as a resolution professional, that person now acts as the liquidator of this company.
Now what happens to the workers? Because workers will also go to court, they will say that our job is at stake.
Yes.
Earlier there were provisions about how to remove worker and how to close the unit. Now how to remove?
Yes. See now, देखो, IBC is very clear, and I think that is how it should have been from the very beginning in this country. If an organization is bleeding, the best that you can do is to ensure that you stop bleeding. Because if the organization is bleeding, if that means if it is making losses, it is not going to be in the interest of anyone. It is not going to be in the interest of the owners, the lenders, the buyers, the customers, and also in the interest of the employees. Now, employee has an option. That means there are three categories. There is one category is of financial creditor, the second category is the operational creditor. So अगर employees को लगता है, workers को लगता है कि ये कंपनी ठीक तरीके से नहीं चल रही है और ये हमको पगार टाइम पे नहीं दे रही है, ये कंपनी बंद होने के chances हैं, then operational creditor under section 9 can file the same application with the adjudicating authority and ask for the insolvency resolution plan to be initiated with respect to this company. That is the only change that you have. Plus there is a facility, there is a small change. अब देखो आपको याद होगा कि पुराने जो bankruptcy laws थे उसमें अगर एक कंपनी liquidation में जाती है, whose dues will be paid first? Earlier it was always the government, central government, state government. Under the IBC there is a waterfall. And under the waterfall provisions, the government is in the bottom, almost in the bottom. They are before the equity shareholders, preference shareholders, but they are almost in the bottom. So it's not that they will get the priority. The workers' dues will get a priority. The employees' dues will get a priority. But that is the only thing. Because if the company is not making profit, if company is not operational, how the workers and interest going to be protected in any case? That doesn't make sense at all. So this is the provision that you have in case of the times.
Just one more.
Yeah, please.
Whether Industry Dispute Act has been modified for if you want to have suspension or dismissal.
Yes.
Then on closure of unit, then you have to give notice to the appropriate government. then 6 months action and all those things are removed.
I'll tell you. So the moment application, whether filed under section 7 or 9 or 10, the moment an application for the insolvency of a company is admitted by the NCLT, from that moment a moratorium starts and everything else stands still. The only thing that remains functional is the IBC and the insolvency resolution professional. So all this, because see, you are not removing the workers when you are going to NCLT. You are not removing. You are going to the NCLT because this company is not running profitably. This company is on the verge of closure. So you are approaching the authority with an objective. Before that happens, take necessary steps so this company is turned around. So the question of asking those approvals or all that is immaterial, because then what will happen is only two things can happen. Number one, either this company is turned around. Okay, that means somebody submits a resolution plan. The resolution plan is workable. It is accepted by the resolution professional, accepted by the COC. COC is the committee of the creditors, and it is approved by the adjudicating authority. If that is what happens, well and good, no problem. If that doesn't happen, then companies goes for liquidation. Everything else is immaterial. So whatever laws, the workmen and all those laws, there is no restriction. No, you will have to take that approval, this approval. Now NCLT order of liquidation becomes final. No questions asked. And by the way, the only way that you can appeal is you can go to NCLT. And if you have any doubt or any disagreement, and that's it. And if at all you want to go, you can finally go to the Supreme Court, is the ultimate authority. As per the law, even the High Court does not have the jurisdiction. But the High Court has the jurisdiction, that is the writ jurisdiction, not otherwise. Yeah, sure.
Suppose some earlier acts and procedures are waived, so can they shift to IBC?
Say it again, please.
Say, for example, under DIFR some proceedings are waived.
Right.
And it is not happening.
So though there is a provision, all the matters that were earlier lying with the High Court or with the DRD pertaining to the corporate, they are shifted to the NCLT.
By default?
By default, the law provides that they are all shifted to the NCLT. So NCLT is the new jurisdiction as far as the insolvency and bankruptcy is concerned. Okay? Good. So and then of course there is something called as fast track. My idea behind explaining all these things to you is also to help you prepare for your examination. तो मैं आपको क्यों ऐसे एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ, मैं आपको इस तरह से इसलिए कर रहा हूँ ताकि जब मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि आपको तैयारी कैसे करनी है. When you start preparing for this examination, and when you suddenly read about insolvency resolution plan, suddenly you read about insolvency professional, suddenly you read about CIRP, then it should not become a German or French. You should be able to immediately understand, oh wow, this is what now this chapter is referring to. So it should facilitate your comprehension of the law when you start preparing for this examination. Are you all with me? Okay. So then there is a third thing, and the third thing is fast track. Now what is fast track? Fast track is normally if a company has to complete the resolution process, the period is 180 days plus 90 days. So all put together it can maximum go up to 270 days. But in case of fast track, that means there are companies which are smaller in size, maybe with regard to the income, with regard to the assets, with regard to the liabilities. Now those thresholds are yet to be known. So such companies, instead of going through the normal resolution process, can go for the fast track. Fast track का मतलब क्या है? The maximum time now which is available for fast track is 90 days plus extension of 45 days. So the time duration is reduced by half. That is your fast track. And then of course there is a fourth thing, which is voluntary liquidation. That means under the law, if a company decides to voluntarily liquidate itself, it can do under section 59 of the Act, which is permissible. The process has been given as to how the shareholders meeting will need to be held, how the board of directors will need to submit. All those processes are there, but this provision is also there. So these are the four major steps or major provisions which are available in the IBC for the corporates. Now this part I am not talking at this point in time, primarily because paucity of time, and secondly also because as of now this aspect is not notified, so it is not currently applicable, and in my understanding I think it will be a very long time before it is IBC is notified for the non-corporate. So we would try and cover more relevant aspects. Yes, sir.
So what happens to a consortium meeting? It is filed by the Apex Bank or it is notified by the...
Very good question. Now, see, there are no such restrictions as regards how do you file the application, because the IBC does not recognize consortium or syndicate or this or that. IBC recognizes financial creditor, IBC recognizes the corporate creditor, which is the company itself. IBC recognizes the operational creditors. Operational creditors would mean people who have supplied goods and services to the company. It would also include the employees of the company. So in case if there is a consortium lending, now it is up to the consortium lenders to decide whether they would like to file the application, the leader representing everybody, or one of them filing the application, or some of them put coming together and filing the application. So there is no such restriction that you are a consortium lender, so therefore you file the application as a consortium only, but there is no such restriction. It is over. Now at this point in time, let me also tell you friends, under the IBC there is a provision of COC. Now what is COC? What is COC? COC is Committee of Creditors. Now please remember, देखिए बहुत सिंपल है. कंपनी चालू हुई, who were the people at the hands? Shareholders, owners. उन्होंने कंपनी को चलाया, कंपनी चलते 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 बंद होने के कगार पे आ गई. Would you like this company to be left in the hands with the same people? The answer is
No.
no. So now who is the next stakeholder? The next stakeholder are the lenders, because besides the capital provided by the shareholders, the capital has been provided by the lenders. So now what do? Now you give an opportunity to this second group, that is lenders. So COC would comprise only of financial creditors. And de facto अगर आप मुझसे बोले तो मैं आपको अगर सिंपल शब्दों में कहूँ तो insolvency professional is CEO of the company, and the COC, Committee of Creditors, is a board of directors, come shareholders, come whatever it is. So between them, they have to run the company and run. See, running is not important. Please remember, running is important in the sense that obviously, if you have to turn a company around, you have to ensure that the going concern thing continues. But the objective of the COC and the objective of insolvency professional is to find the insolvency resolution. Yeah, insolvency resolution. Very good, friends. So, you said
Limit on, if suppose at our bank, the total lending is 100 crores.
Yeah.
I am a lender, I have lent only 10 crores.
Correct.
And if I just complain because of my some personal problems,
Yeah.
they are not paying me back the interest or anything.
Right.
I can just for 10 crores, can I lodge a complaint? Right.
Why 10 crore? If this amount is more than 1 lakh, you can file it.
So it is not a percentage.
No, and that's a good question, very good question. Please pay attention. Number one, the threshold is 1 lakh. So if the default is of an amount which is 1 lakh or more, you can file the application as a financial creditor or as a operational creditor. Number two, please pay attention. The decision making is with COC, and COC earlier was, as per the law, was to take a decision which was to be approved by 75% of the creditors, financial creditors. Now, in the ordinance of 6th June 2018, this has been diluted to 66% for the key decisions and 51% for the normal decisions. The idea was because 75% to mobilize 75% of the creditors to come to one common understanding is a bit of a challenge. So therefore, it has been diluted to 66% for the key decisions. For the normal day-to-day operations, it has been diluted to 51% decision. Yeah. Very good. So now, I'm sorry, you had some question.
Can any stakeholder make application? I think that you answered that question. Any stakeholder can make application.
Absolutely. Every
But
state-
what about the government companies? This like Navaratna or Air India was with it.
Huh.
In that case, who should apply for that? Or whether they can apply for that?
You meant to say for a government company? Government company.
For example, this Air India or BTCL or like or Navaratna or what you said.
Yeah.
So
So a government company is a company under the Companies Act. So who are the owners immaterial of that? What is applicable to a non-government company registered under Companies Act 1956 or 2013? It is applicable equally to a government company also. So if a government company, I mean hypothetically speaking, if a government company is failing to pay the dues, then what is applicable to a privately owned company is also applicable to a government owned company. No change whatsoever. Right, friends. So let's move forward. Now, how to prepare and pass the limited liability examination? This is the focal area, and again, my objective is, कहते हैं कि you should not reinvent the wheel every time. Because if you reinvent the wheel every time, you spend a lot of resources. So when something is available, it should be shared by everybody. So before I come to this, any question on whatever I have discussed with you so far? Any doubt, any question on whatever I have discussed with you so far? Remember, the moment application is admitted by the NCLT, the moratorium starts. And what is the moratorium? The moratorium is all the legal proceedings which are pending against this company or against this company, right? All those legal proceedings are stay put. Not only all the pending and existing legal proceedings, any court or arbitration are stay put. Even the new legal proceedings can also not be initiated against this company during the moratorium period. And what is the moratorium period? The moratorium period to begin with is 180 days, which can go up to 270 days. And after 270 days, then of course company goes for liquidation and the moratorium is lifted. Now, how to prepare and pass the limited liability examination of IBDI? So first of all, friends, I am sure all of you I have already covered this. कौन eligible है? चारों profession में से everybody is eligible, provided they have 10 years post qualification experience. So, and if you are passing this examination after 1st April 2018, now you also have to compulsorily undergo a training of 50 hours. That requirement was not there earlier, but that requirement has now come into existence. So you pass the examination, no problem. But you will have to take the membership of IBDI, that is the regulator, and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. So you will need to obtain the membership of IBDI, and you will also need to take the membership of IPA. IPA is your insolvency professional agency, right? And there are 3 of them. So ICAI, ICR Institute, and also Company Secretary. So all of them. तो ये इनकी membership आपको लेना mandatory है. You have to be member of IBDI and IPA. Without that, you cannot practice. So for getting the membership today, first you pass the examination, then you complete the training, and then you apply for the membership, which is granted to you, given to you.
Suppose today I don't have 10 years of experience, can I apply for that exam?
See, देखो आप कर सकते हो, पर आपको कोई फायदा नहीं है, क्योंकि this qualification is valid for 1 year. So Yeah, 1 year. So that means if you pass the examination within 1 year, you should get the membership. So अगर आपको 10 साल का experience नहीं है, so the best thing in your case would be that you wait for 10 years experience to happen, and when you have
9 years. 9 years after post qualification.
you have 9 years post qualification experience, so then you can try for this examination, and once you complete 10 years, then you can, so you pass the examination today. The day you complete 10 years of work experience, immediately you apply for the membership, because this score is valid for 1 year. This your passing this result is valid for 1 year. So if you pass the examination and your 10 years are completed in next 1 year, within 1 year, then it makes sense for you to write the examination. There is no problem. Right. So how to enroll for the examination? अब देखो इसमें बताऊँ कि पहले NISM was conducting this examination. Now this has been shifted from NISM. It is now being conducted by the Institute of BSE. So that is the change which you have, but rest of the process are remain the same. So you go to the website of IBDI, and through the website of IBDI you will go to the website of UTI. That's where you register yourself. Not UTI, sorry, BSE. So you go to the website of BSE, register yourself, and the process is very simple. Give your details, your mail ID, your mobile number, and so on and so forth. You also need to upload a copy of your Aadhaar card and a copy of your PAN card and a copy of your photo. So that is what you must keep ready when you are making the registration. So once you do the registration, once you have done the registration, then you come to my page. And when you come to the my page, then you can register for the examination. So when you come to the my page, it will show you I install limited insolvency examination of IBDI. So you will be directed to the website of BSE Institute, and that's where it will show a lot of courses that the BSE Institute is conducting. One of them is limited insolvency examination. So you go to the examination, click there, and then of course you will have the choice. It will ask you when do you want to conduct the examination, give that date. Where do you want to write this examination? Scroll it down. There are two, 3 centers in Pune. Those will come on your screen. It will also show you which date is available, which slot is available, and then depending on your convenience, you can click it, and you can pay the fees online using the debit card, credit card, or the online banking. You can pay the fees. The fees is 1,500 rupees for every attempt that you do. And at this point in time, what I will recommend to every one of you is make your first attempt at the earliest possible. आपका जो पहला अटेम्प्ट है उसके लिए पूरी तैयारी करने का वेट मत करिए. You know why? Because once you write this exam, even if you are not prepared, if nothing else, what you will understand how the whole examination is conducted. And believe me, that is going to be invaluable for you in passing the exam when you appear for the second time. क्योंकि जब आप लिखोगे तो आपको मालूम पड़ेगा पहली बार कि ये एग्जाम होता कैसे है. दूसरा आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कि वो पूरे क्वेश्चंस कैसे अपीयर होते हैं, उसका स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, और सबसे फाइनली बात आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कि आज की तारीख में ये एग्जाम के लिए आपकी तैयारी कैसी है. एंड दैट विल मेक यू हेल्प यू डिसाइड कि मुझे किस तरह से तैयारी इसकी करनी चाहिए. So this is the first thing that you will do, and believe me, it will not take you more than 1 hour to complete this process. यानी कि आप नदी के एकदम किनारे पर हैं, आपको खाली उसमें लोटा डाल के पानी निकालना है. इतना, it's so close. So just 1 hour, maximum 1 hour. Yes, Chandra.
So now the examination is conducted by BSE.
Yeah.
So earlier, if I have registered for NISM, so again I need to register.
Yes, you will have to do that because now the IBDI is not conducting the examination through NISM. So therefore, you will have to log in afresh with the BSE because the body which is conducting the organization is different altogether. So that will have to be done for sure. Yeah.
This is online.
This is completely online, and there is MCQ based.
Negative marking.
There is a negative marking. There is a negative. I'm coming to those points. there is a negative marking. अगर आप कोई सवाल गलत आंसर करते हो, there is a negative marking of 0.25. And that is the reason why I am recommending to every one of you to appear for this examination without worrying as to how well you are prepared or how well you are not prepared. Because I can tell you, lot of people would have passed this examination if they would have gone meticulously in writing the answers and giving the answers. आपने क्या किया? अभी तो एग्जाम है, हमको तो आदत क्या है कि पूरा कोर्स कवर करना है, 100% आंसर लिखने हैं, तो उसके चक्कर में आपने क्या किया? आपने पूरे 100 के अंदर आंसर कर दिया। फैंटास्टिक। और आपका खुशनसीब कि उसमें से 67 जो आपने आंसर किए क्वेश्चन एकदम परफेक्ट, यानी कि आपको पास होने के लिए कितना चाहिए? 60। आपने आंसर कितने करेक्ट किए? 67। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से आपने क्या किया? यू हैव आंसर्ड 33 क्वेश्चंस इन द प्रोसेस इनकरेक्टली। So 33 into 0.25 comes to 8.25. Your score is 67 for the right answers. 67 minus 8.25, and you know where you stand now. So your score is going to be 58.75. You would have otherwise passed the examination, but now you will have to come back. And that is the reason I am very strongly recommending to everybody. In my note also I write to everybody, don't worry about it. ये मत सोचो कि मेरी तैयारी है कि नहीं है। 1,500 रुपए का खर्चा है, and I can tell you it is definitely worth making an investment. It is definitely worth making an investment. Okay. Now, how to prepare for the exam? This exam is interesting and challenging. मैं आपको सच्ची बोलता हूँ, आपकी तबीयत खुश हो जाएगी जब आप इस एग्जाम को लिखोगे, क्योंकि 2 घंटे का टाइम है और 100 मार्क्स का पूरा पेपर है और it's all MCQ based, so there's nothing subjective. There are case studies, of course. There are case studies all put together. 86, 87 questions will be there. Most of them are of 1 mark. About 13, 14 of them are of 2 marks. There are 2-3 case studies. Case studies are also answered in the MCQ manner. ठीक है? तो ऐसा नहीं कि केस स्टडी को पढ़ के आपको डायरेक्टिव आंसर देना है, नो. The case study will also give you, ask you MCQ, and then you answer. Why I am saying this? कि 86 क्वेश्चन है, कुछ क्वेश्चन 2 मार्क्स के होते हैं. I am saying this because when you are answering a question, you got to be very careful, because अगर आपने एक 2 मार्क का क्वेश्चन गलती से गलत आंसर कर दिया तो आपके 0.5 नेगेटिव मार्क लग जाएंगे आपको. So that is the reason why I am saying that we must be very careful. और आपको मालूम पड़ता है, the screen will tell you this question is of 1 mark, this question is of 2 mark. It is very nicely designed examination, very nicely designed examination, very comprehensive, very user friendly, except that it does not give you the right answer. It does not tell you what is the answer of this question, otherwise it tells you everything else. So not a typical panic paper, MCQ, negative marking, and need to be absolutely meticulous in preparation as well as in writing the examination. Now, how to prepare for the examination? Now friends, what I am doing with you now is I am sharing with you what worked for me. And as I was telling you earlier, I am sure it should work for you also, because so many people now send me WhatsApp messages or they meet me and they tell me that because you shared your note with us, by following your note we have been able to pass the examination. So this is what I am going to share with you. So first of all क्या करिए, start with the BEAR Act on IBC. सबसे पहले BEAR Act, किसी का भी टैक्समैन का ले लो, भारत का ले लो, किसी का भी ले लो. Pick up the BEAR Act on IBC. Pick up the one that will have all the updated regulations and rules and everything. ये आपका स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट है और ये सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट डॉक्यूमेंट है. याद रखिए, आपको पास होने के लिए 60 मार्क्स चाहिए. कितने चाहिए? 60 मार्क्स. एंड दैट शुड बी योर टारगेट, दैट यू नो आई गेट 60 मार्क्स एंड आई एम हैप्पी. अब ये BEAR एक्ट को आप क्या करिए, आप पहली बार पढ़ेंगे, हो सकता है आपको नींद आ जाए. When you read the BEAR Act first time, I am telling you, you might feel sleepy. And I am telling you in advance. And why I am telling you in advance? बिकॉज नहीं तो आपको क्या होगा, आपको नींद आएगी और हो सकता है कि आप बोले कि नहीं यार आपने तो पेट जारी हमला क्या हो सकता नहीं, आप ले बच्चा नहीं, आप इज नॉट माय कप ऑफ टी, व्हेन यू माइट डिसाइड टू गो फॉर राइटिंग एग्जाम। सो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम टेलिंग यू, अगर आपको नींद आए फील हैप्पी अबाउट इट। उसने बताया था कि पहली बार में नींद आती है, नींद आ रही है, दैट मींस मैं सही रास्ते पर हूं। उसको दूसरी बार पढ़िए, कुछ कुछ दिमाग में बैठेगा। तीसरी बार पढ़िए, सब कुछ दिमाग में बैठेगा। चौथी बार पढ़िए, पढ़ने से पहले मालूम पड़ जाएगा कि क्या लिखा है। एंड दैट इज द स्टेज एट विच यू मस्ट ब्रिंग योरसेल्फ टू। देखो एमसीक्यू में आपको सारा मेमोराइज करने की जरूरत नहीं है। एमसीक्यू में आपकी कंसेप्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग परफेक्ट होनी चाहिए, और जब आपकी कंसेप्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग परफेक्ट होगी, आपने बेयर एक्ट को 4 बार पढ़ लिया, तो मैं आपको गारंटी से बोल सकता हूं कि क्वेश्चन आपके सामने आएगा। क्वेश्चन पढ़ने से पहले आपको मालूम है कि इसका आंसर क्या है। आप वो 4 ऑप्शंस में से उस आंसर को खोजोगे, वो आंसर आपको दिख जाएगा और आप उसको आंसर को क्लिक करोगे और आगे बढ़ोगे। तो 4-5 बार आप उसकी पक्की रीडिंग करके चलिए। एंड आई एम टेलिंग यू बेस्ड ऑन माय एक्सपीरियंस, ये लॉ बहुत सिंपल है। मतलब इनकम टैक्स के मुकाबले में, कंपनीज एक्ट के मुकाबले में, फेमा के मुकाबले में, और भी बहुत सारे ट्रांसफर ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी एक्ट के मुकाबले में, और बहुत सारे एक्ट के मुकाबले में, where I find even the language is also very simple. The language, and I'm sure this is what you will experience when you start preparing for this exam. So start with the Beer Act or IBC. अब देखिए, इसमें से मैं आपको बताऊं कि 66 marks are dependent on your preparation of the IBC code. क्यों 66 marks? Because 40 marks की तो डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस आईबीसी कोड में से आते हैं, रेगुलेशंस रूल्स में से आते हैं, और बाकी 26 मार्क्स की जो ट्रांजैक्शनल एनालिसिस है, केस स्टडी एनालिसिस है, जो आते हैं, वो जो 26 मार्क्स हैं। Now those case studies and the transactional analysis are ultimately driven by the provisions of the IBC code. तो अगर आपकी आईबीसी कोड की अंडरस्टैंडिंग अच्छी होगी, रूल्स और रेगुलेशंस की अंडरस्टैंडिंग अच्छी होगी, तो आपको केसेस को आंसर करने में दिक्कत नहीं होगी। So 66% is the weightage in my understanding of the IBC code, and therefore 4-5 बार आप उसको पढ़िए, and I can tell you the confidence will start coming automatically. आपको लगने लगेगा कि हाँ यार अब मैं तैयार हूँ।
How big is the act? How many pages?
Pardon me?
Act कितना बड़ा है?
एक्ट का साइज बढ़ते रहता है। It's a dynamic because the government keeps coming out with new rules and new regulations, the IPPI. So, but relatively कंपनीज एक्ट के कंपैरिजन में, इनकम टैक्स के कंपैरिजन में बहुत पतला है। इतना पतला है कि आप उसको देखते हैं, जब कंपनीज एक्ट का डायरेक्ट उठा के देखोगे तो गवर्नमेंट लगता है। It's quite thin. मैं आई एम नॉट कैरिंग अ कॉपी, इट इज क्वाइट थिन। It's thin enough to attract you. राइट, उसको देख के लगेगा यार इसको तो मैं क्रैक कर सकता हूँ, नो प्रॉब्लम। नाउ अब इसमें मैं आपको बताऊं कि इसमें जो 5 चैप्टर की मैंने आपसे बात करी, जो कॉर्पोरेट, नॉन कॉर्पोरेट, ऑल ऑफ देम हैव चैप्टर्स ऑन ऑफेंसेस एंड पेनल्टीज। When I was preparing, I found the most confusing part of the code are the offenses and penalties. एक तो बहुत सारे हैं, और दूसरा कंसिस्टेंसी नहीं है। कहीं 6 महीने है तो कहीं 3 साल का इम्प्रिजनमेंट है, तो कहीं 5 साल का इम्प्रिजनमेंट है, तो कहीं 7 साल का इम्प्रिजनमेंट है। सो व्हाट आई डिड, मैंने सोचा पास होने के लिए कितना मार्क्स चाहिए, 60। ऑफेंसेस में कितने क्वेश्चन आएंगे, 2-3। अगर 2-3 हमने नहीं भी आंसर की तो क्या घाटा होने वाला है। सो आई टुक दैट इन ऑप्शन, मैंने उसकी बिल्कुल भी तैयारी नहीं करी, बिकॉज वो टाइम आई स्पेंड ऑन प्रिपेयरिंग ऑन सम अदर थिंग्स। अच्छा, नाउ मैं आपको एक चीज बता दूं कि मैं आपको ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि आप भी ऐसा करिए, आई एम ओनली टेलिंग यू कि ये मैंने किया। तो कल को मालूम पड़ा कि आप 1 मार्क्स से चूक गए और मार्क्स कौन सा था, ऑफेंसेस वाले था, और आप मुझे फोन करके बोलेंगे सर आपने मरवा दिया। पर ऐसा नहीं होगा, डोंट वरी। But this is just, and you yourself will feel it. when you read those questions, you yourself will feel, अरे यार ये अभी तो ये कह रहा था, ये कह रहा है, ये कह रहा है, so it's better to take it an option and you don't use much. Now then you shift your focus, ये करने के बाद, then you shift your focus to RDD-PFI, which is recovery of dues and debts from the banks and financial institutions and SARFAESI, the arbitration and conciliation and the limitation act. ये चार एक्ट को पढ़िए. Again use the variance. Now my suggestion, what I did. Now luckily when I wrote, जब मैंने ये एग्जाम लिखा तो उस समय arbitration, conciliation and the limitation act they were not part of the course curriculum when I wrote the exam. और मैं आपको बताऊं कि अगर ये even if they were to be part of the course curriculum, I would have taken these two subjects in option. Why? Because please understand, there is something called input-output ratio, which is very important. And that you have to be very careful because जितनी आप मेहनत डाल रहे हो उसके हिसाब से आउटपुट आना जरूरी है. So I would have taken that in option in any case, but I would not skip RDD-PFI. I would not skip SARFAESI. Why? Because जो आपको केस स्टडीज आएंगे वो केस स्टडीज में RDD-PFI का इश्यूज होता है, SARFAESI का इश्यू होता है, तो ये दो को आप बिल्कुल भी ऑप्शन में मत दीजिए, बल्कि इसको भी आप 2-3 बार पढ़िए. SARFAESI and RDD-PFI को 2-3 बार पढ़िए to have a complete conceptual understanding. एक चीज और आपको बताऊं, ICAI चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स का IIP का वेबसाइट है. I'm going to share, now by the way, I'm going to share this entire presentation to the chapter and you will have this copy ready with you. Please use it by yourself and share it with everyone that you know. And anyone you think who would be interested in writing this exam, please put on the WhatsApp or wherever, whichever way you want to do it. So, and I will give you the link of that website. Now, please pay attention. Why would I not worry about the arbitration and the conciliation and the limitation act? For the simple reason, on the website of the Chartered Accountants IIIT, the contents are most comprehensive. जितने भी एक्ट्स की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ सारे के सारे वेयर एक्ट्स डाउनलोडेबल अवेलेबल हैं. भरपूर एमसीक्यूज हैं, भरपूर मॉक टेस्ट हैं, वीडियोस हैं. सो वो जो एमसीक्यू और मॉक टेस्ट जो आप आंसर करोगे वो वेबसाइट पे जाके they will automatically take care of the arbitration and the conciliation and the limitation act. So therefore you can save your time. But if you have time, no problem, you can always spend it. Now ये चारों का weightage है 6 marks का. So RDD-PFI, SARFAESI, arbitration and conciliation and the limitation act, these 4 put together will have 6 marks in the entire. Now this is the address of the website of IIP of ICAI, and it has got all the PRX, enough material, enough MCQs, enough mock tests. Make full use of it. It is open to everyone. So it's not that one has to be member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Of course not. It's available. So make full use of it. Full use of it. Then the Institute of Company Secretaries IPA. In case some of you may be the member of ICSI also, it is quite possible that you might already be receiving mails from them. Those people also keep sending good MCQs and things like that. Make full use of that material. Our own institute also has very nice content available online. Make full use of them. See, I am telling you, ये एग्जाम को पास करने का आपको सबसे बड़ा बोनस क्या है मालूम है आपको? सबसे बड़ा बोनस ये है कि जो काम आप पूरी जिंदगी नहीं करोगे वो करते हो आप. मालूम वो क्या काम है? वो काम ये है कि आप पूरी जिंदगी में कभी बैठे पूरा रिफ्रेश करते हो. ये दिस इज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी दैट मेक्स यू टू कंप्लीटली रिफ्रेश द होल थिंग. क्या क्या जो आपने पढ़ा है, जो आप पढ़ना चाहते हैं लेकिन नहीं पढ़ते हैं, यू स्टार्ट रीडिंग ऑल दैट. Okay, then of course after the SARFAESI and RDD-PFI, Now you shift your focus to the Companies Act. Companies Act आपको पूरा पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. Companies Act के certain chapters have been specified. So you prepare only for those chapters. In my understanding, in my experience, reading those chapters wasn't very problematic. Understanding those chapters wasn't very problematic, but it really adds tremendous value for yourself. तो ये पढ़ लीजिए prescribed chapters of Companies Act, Partnership Act and the LLP Act. Now मैं आपको बताऊं कि मैं कंपनी सेक्रेटरी हुआ मैं 1988 में, कॉस्ट अकाउंटेंट में हुआ 1993 में, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट में हुआ in 2008. लेकिन मैंने LLP मेरी जिंदगी में कभी नहीं पढ़ा था. So I really had no idea as to what the LLP was because I never needed to refer it also. Because of this examination, I read through the entire LLP and I really found it a very interesting law. Very interesting. So now focus on this, and this has got a weightage of 10 marks. यानी कि Companies Act, Partnership Act and LLP Act, all of them put together will fetch you 10 marks. So you can obviously understand that यहाँ पे focus ज़्यादा करने की ज़रूरत है. Now the next you have is Indian Contract Act, Transfer of Property Act, Sale of Goods Act, Specific Relief Act, Negotiable Instruments Act. Now these are the acts which have a combined weightage of 6 marks. Now I'm just sharing as to what I did. You can decide as to what you should do. मैंने Indian Contract Act पूरा पढ़ा. I did not touch the Transfer of Property Act because it is so vast in any case. I summarily read the Sale of Goods Act. Specific Relief Act and the Negotiable Instrument Acts were not part of the syllabus when I applied for this examination. Even if they were to be part of the syllabus, I wouldn't really spend my time on them for the simple reason the material which is available on the IIP of ICAI and the MCQs which are available, they quite well make you prepare for these two acts. In the Companies Act, Contract Act, you better read it. The Sale of Goods Act, you better read it because those are going to be quite relevant. उसका weightage है 6 marks. Now please remember, aim is to pass the exam. Hence consider the input-output ratio in your preparation. Then there is something called General Awareness and Finance and Accounts. अब इस General Awareness का क्या कोर्स करिकुलम है? इस General Awareness का कोर्स करिकुलम में आपको 2 लाइन में बताता हूँ. जब से आप पैदा हुए तब से लेके आज तक और आपके पैदा होने से पहले और हिंदुस्तान में जो कुछ हुआ है वो सारा इसका कोर्स करिकुलम है. कहीं से भी कुछ भी आ सकता है. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के ऊपर आ सकता है, फॉरेन पॉलिसी के ऊपर आ सकता है, इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी के ऊपर आ सकता है. Any question can come from anywhere on the under the general awareness, and for this I don't think you need to prepare anything special. Your general knowledge and understanding and your experience of the industry will adequately equip you to handle this part of it. अब किस तरह के क्वेश्चन आ सकते हैं मैं आपको एक एग्जाम्पल बताता हूँ. First time when I appeared for this exam, there was a question, and the question was: the government of India has increased the period of maternity leave from these many weeks to these many weeks. So this was the question which was there when I appeared first time. I did not know the answer, and I did not feel it appropriate to take a chance. I left that question and I failed. Second time when I appeared for the examination, this question again appeared. Same question. And this time also I did not know the answer. This time also I left it blank. But this time I passed the exam. So this is to give you an idea as to what kind of questions can come under the general awareness. The weightage is of 6 marks. Under the finance and accounts, also the questions would appear. Again, we are being cost accountants already. We are quite well equipped to handle this part because our general understanding of the finance and accounts is pretty good already. However, to be specific, do preparation on financial ratios, CAPM model, operating leverage, financial leverage, and broad-based understanding of index. This is what you must prepare yourself for as far as the general awareness and accounts and finances. So that has got a weightage of 6 marks. As I said earlier, do not try to memorize. It won't work. It cannot work. It's not possible. So लेकिन conceptual understanding हो गई तो आपको चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Answers automatically come to your mind and believe me, it happens every. जब आप एग्जाम देने जाते हो तो आपको लगता है कि कुछ ही मालूम नहीं है, लेकिन आप एग्जाम कर निकलते हो, पास होकर निकलते हो. You also started wondering कि ये आंसर आए कहाँ से? Now those answers came from the preparation that you were doing all this while. कि एक क्वेश्चन जो आप सभी के दिमाग में आ सकता है वो ये कि इस एग्जाम की तैयारी के लिए मुझे कितना टाइम देना चाहिए? How much time should I devote for writing this exam? देखो एक चीज बताता हूँ. ये जो प्रोफेशन है, the profession of insolvency professional is fantastic. It's a career by itself. It's a different ball game altogether. And if you are those daring type, the enterprising type, if you are one of those who would like to do things differently and who would like to take up the challenge, then this program is for you. And therefore, how much time should you devote? What you need to do is minimum 7 to 10 days is what is required. Focused preparation. जरूरत पड़े तो भाभी जी को मायके भेज दो या हस्बैंड को बोलो कि जरा मैं अपने मायके जाती हूँ, मायके जाके तैयारी करो. But for 7-10 days, don't think of anything else. This is what I did. Luckily, I did not have to send my wife. Coincidentally, she traveled to her Maika in Gwalior, and I was free for 7 days, and I luckily made full use of that opportunity in past weeks.
First time or second time?
Second time. You are giving the idea. So maybe you should have gone first time. Maybe I would have passed the first time. So now this is how you prepare for this exam. Now let us understand कि ये एग्जाम की तैयारी कैसे करेंगे. How to sorry ये एग्जाम को लिखेंगे कैसे. देखिए ये एग्जाम को लिखना is a different ball game altogether. ये टिपिकल एग्जाम नहीं है जो कि हम हमेशा लिखते हैं, थोड़ा डिफरेंट है. In my experience, success of yours in this examination will depend 75% on your preparation and 25% on how you handle the examination. And in my experience, it is this 25% which is going to make the difference. Tayari wise, I'm sure you will not leave any stone unturned. But you have to be really meticulous and systematic and focused and completely cool head when you are writing the exam. 2 घंटे का एग्जाम है, 60 मार्क्स हैं, 60 मार्क्स पासिंग के लिए 100 मार्क्स का पेपर है. आपको 1 सेकंड एक्स्ट्रा नहीं मिलता है, 1 सेकंड कम ही मिलता है, because 2 hours are counted from the moment it is you are locked up, right? So it is now what you should do. I think ये मैंने एग्जाम्पल आपको पहले बता दिया, तो मैं इसको स्किप करने वाला हूँ. मैंने आपको बताया एग्जाम के बाद आपने 100 के 100 को आंसर किया ये सोच के कि 60 निकल जाएंगे. 60 में 67 निकल गए, लेकिन 33 गलत हुए, and then you know what happened to you. So I'm not. How do you avoid that mishap? वो उस दुर्घटना से आप कैसे बचें? Let us understand that. Now. Hello. My only worry is whether my voice will get recorded without the mic or not. Otherwise, I think I'm audible. Amit, can you hear me? Yeah. Right. So now देखिए आपको क्या करना है. ये एग्जाम जब आप लिखने बैठेंगे, आप एक बार, मैं मान के चल रहा हूँ कि आप एक बार ये एग्जाम को दे चुके हैं, अभी आपको फेयरली गुड आइडिया है। सबसे पहले जैसे जैसे क्वेश्चन आपके सामने आते जाएं, उस ही क्वेश्चन को आंसर करिए जिस क्वेश्चन के बारे में आपको मालूम है कि आपका आंसर 100% नहीं 200% करेक्ट है। जस्ट आंसर only those questions about which you are absolutely sure, and believe me, you do not need a meter to find out कि मैं कितना % श्योर हूँ इसके बारे में। आप जब आंसर करते हो तो आपको मालूम है कि मैंने आंसर सही किया, आपको सोचना नहीं पड़ता है, खट से बटन दबता है, that is first category of the question. Second category of the question, आपके सामने एक क्वेश्चन आया, you are not sure, आपको डाउट है कि मैं इसका आंसर मुझे मालूम है कि नहीं मालूम है। इस क्वेश्चन को आप क्या करिए, उधर एक रिव्यू का बटन होता है, तो रिव्यू का बटन दबाइए, तो ये क्वेश्चन क्या हुआ, ये रिव्यू के उसमें चला जाएगा। ठीक है, पहला वाला तो करेक्ट में चला गया, दूसरा वाला रिव्यू में चला गया। अब तीसरा क्वेश्चन आया आपके सामने, तीसरा क्वेश्चन आया और आपने क्वेश्चन को पढ़ा और पढ़ते ही आपको लगा कि ये क्वेश्चन मुझे क्या किसी को भी नहीं मालूम होगा। क्या करिए, इस क्वेश्चन को बिल्कुल भी हाथ मत लगाइए, इसको जाने दीजिए। आर यू विद मी? समझ में क्या कर रहा हूँ? तो 3 कैटेगरी ऑफ क्वेश्चन है। पहला क्वेश्चन आपको 100% कॉन्फिडेंट 200% कॉन्फिडेंस है, दूसरा क्वेश्चन आपको डाउट है, उसको रिव्यू में डालिए, तीसरा क्वेश्चन आपको मालूम है कि यू डोंट नो द आंसर, डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम, टाइम इज ऑफ इसेंस, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, सो डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम ऑन दिस क्वेश्चन एट ऑल, इसको छोड़ दीजिए। अब आपने क्या किया, पूरे 100 क्वेश्चंस आपने आंसर कर दिए। नाउ द स्क्रीन विल शो यू, व्हेन यू क्लिक द बटन, स्क्रीन आपको बताएगा कि पहली कैटेगरी का आपका स्कोर कितना है। यानी कि आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कि पहली कैटेगरी में, यानी कि जो जिसके बारे में आपका कॉन्फिडेंस 200% है, तो उसका स्कोर कितना आ रहा है। सो मे बी दैट स्कोर इज कमिंग 65। ठीक है, इसका मतलब क्या है, इसका मतलब कि आप पास हो गए, आप पास हो गए। तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि अगर आपके पास में टाइम नहीं बचा है, क्लिक करिए, भगवान का नाम लेके, पूरे चांसेस हैं कि सामने मैसेज आएगा, कांग्रेचुलेशंस यू हैव पास द एग्जाम, कलेक्ट द कॉपी ऑफ द रिजल्ट एंड गो होम। अगर टाइम बचा है तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि आपको मालूम है 67, आपके 65 पहले सही हो चुके हैं, आपको वो कॉन्फिडेंस है, टाइम बचा है, तो रिव्यू वाले में को क्लिक करिए, और रिव्यू वाले में जो क्वेश्चंस हैं उनको थोड़ा सा, यू कैन स्पेंड सम टाइम ऑन दोस क्वेश्चंस, बट अगेन डोंट वेस्ट टाइम। यानी कि उसमें क्या करिए, उसमें जो आप रिव्यू करेंगे तो आपको ध्यान में आ जाएगा कि हाँ यार, लॉजिक ऑफ एलिमिनेशन अगर अप्लाई करें तो इसका ये आंसर ये होना चाहिए, और ऐसे आंसर बराबर बैठते हैं। तो अगर आपको थोड़ा सा और कंफर्ट चाहिए तो आप उतना कर सकते हैं, बट डू इट केयरफुली, डू इट केयरफुली। तो अगर वो कुछ और उसमें ऐड हो जाए तो कोई बुराई भी नहीं है। अगेन क्लिक द बटन, क्लोज द एंड गो विद द पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट। लेकिन अगर आपके पहले वाले कोटा में 55 का स्कोर है तो आप क्या करेंगे? तो आप देखिए कि आपको टाइम कितना बचा है, एंड जो आपको टाइम बचा है उस टाइम को जुडिशियसली रिव्यू वाले क्वेश्चंस पर स्पेंड करिए। 55 वहाँ पे हैं, तो यहाँ पे 6-7 अगर आप क्रैक कर लिए तो आप पासिंग की रेंज में पहुँच जाते हैं। आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि 100% ऐसा हो जाएगा, पर 99.99% चांसेस हैं कि 100% ऐसा हो जाएगा। तो उसमें वहाँ थोड़ा टाइम स्पेंड करिए, देन क्लिक एंड देन गो। और अगर आपका 45 का स्कोर है ऊपर पहले वाले में, कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बटन दबाइए और जो टाइम बचा है उसको घर जाके पढ़ाई करने में लगे। So this is all friends I have to share with you. I think ये मैंने पहले बता दिया है आपको, तो मुझे दोबारा से बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है। गैस वर्क मत करिए, and I think this also I have told you, schedule your first attempt, and ये मैं आपको बड़े कॉन्फिडेंस से बोल सकता हूँ कि अगर आप सिस्टमेटिकली गए, एंड आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि प्लीज फॉलो दिस, आई एम नॉट सेइंग फॉलो दिस विद योर मॉडिफिकेशन। आपको लगता है कि ये थोड़ा सा यहाँ और बेटर करा जा सकता है, डेफिनेटली आप 100% पास होंगे, ये मैं आपको बोल सकता हूँ। प्रोफेशन हैज गॉट ट्रिमेंडस अपॉर्चुनिटीज, but it needs tremendous amount of capacity building. एक कंपनी को चलाना अकेले आदमी का काम नहीं है, so you will have to do the networking, you will have to build infrastructure, you will have to perhaps train yourself. अभी तक आप you were practicing as a chartered accountant or a cost accountant or a company secretary, your mindset was different. Your mindset was of an advisor to your clients. As an insolvency professional, you are going to sit in the driver's seat and you are going to drive an organization which may be 100, 200, 500 times much bigger than some of the clients that you may have. So you will need to build your leadership qualities. You will need to build your communication skills, organizational skills, stress absorbing skills. You will have to work on your physical fitness. That you have to work in any case. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि खाली insolvency वालों की fitness का ध्यान रखना चाहिए. But you will, because the kind of stress that you will have is going to be tremendous. So friends, with this we come to the close of this session, and I wish you grand success, and I'm sure all of you will do very well. Yeah, please.
Is there any limitation on the number of attempts?
Oh, there is no limitation. There is no limitation. But every time it costs. देखो, there is no limitation. 1,500 is the only limitation that you have every time that you will spend. But I will tell you, all of you. देखो मैं एक चीज बोलता हूँ आपको, जैसा आप सोचते हैं वैसा ही होता है। ये जिंदगी का प्रिंसिपल बता रहा हूँ, टेलिंग द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ लाइफ। व्हाटएवर हैपेंस इज व्हाट यू थिंक। तो अपने दिमाग में आज ये पक्का करके जाइए कि मुझे ये एग्जाम ज्यादा से ज्यादा 3 अटेम्प्ट के अंदर चटकाना है। गो विद दिस रेजोल्यूशन। Technically, theoretically, there are no limits. You can keep on writing as many. As a matter of fact, that's a good point. I know many people. वो दिन में 3 बार लिखते थे एग्जाम को, मॉर्निंग सेशन रिजर्व, आफ्टरनून रिजर्व, इवनिंग रिजर्व, और ये मत सोचिए कि वो शाम को खुश होकर निकलते थे, अगले दिन वापस। बट पक्का करके लीजिए मन में, कुछ भी हो जाए, ये मुझे 3 अटेम्प्ट से ज्यादा में जाना ही नहीं है। And I can tell you, all of you will crack this examination in less than 3 attempts. Absolutely less than 3 attempts.
दिन में 3 बार एग्जाम देते हैं?
या दिन में 3 बार एग्जाम देते हैं।
क्या शेड्यूल क्या रहता है एग्जाम?
वो एक्चुअली आप जाएंगे वेबसाइट पे, बीएससी की वेबसाइट पे, तो वहाँ आपको मालूम पड़ जाएगा। फिर 10 बजे होता है, फिर 1 बजे होता है, फिर 3-4 बजे, ऐसा होगा। It would vary from the location to location. So like in Pune, I think it is happening on only on Saturday and Sunday. Some other places it may be happening on some other day. But all those informations are absolutely readily available on the website. Okay, any other question?
Sir, what is the eligibility criteria to attend this exam?
देखो, cost accountant, chartered accountant, company secretary, lawyer, इन तीनों में चारों से क्वालिफिकेशन होना चाहिए। 10 साल का पोस्ट क्वालिफिकेशन एक्सपीरियंस होना चाहिए। That is the minimum requirement.
Any qualification experience?
Any post qualification experiences. So whether in practice or in employment doesn't make any difference.
Even graduate, commerce graduate, he has a 10 years experience of
No.
postgraduate
No.
experience.
Actually, there is a national insolvency examination also there, but that is still yet not implemented. And that's where even the graduates and the postgraduates normal would also be allowed. But that is still to come in force. Currently, it is. See, that is what is the point. That currently this field is available only for all of us. Tomorrow it is going to be open for everyone. Now, before it becomes open, you should always get that early bird advantage. Right. So then,
एक्चुअली सेंटर्स इन पुणे होते हैं।
सेंटर्स आर एवरीवेयर। इन पुणे में MIT में है और सतारा रोड पे भी कई हैं।
स्वारगेट में है।
सॉरी स्वारगेट पे कई।
Only practicing profession now in India.
2000, 1800 to be very precise. 1800 is the number of people who have qualified for this course already.
176 CMAs as of now.
176 cost accountant.
176.
176. About 1200 chartered accountants, 1100 chartered accountants and rest commissioners.
Company secretary and LLC.
And ones.
And for your information, in case if any one of you want to have more details about it, this is my mail ID pramod7j@gmail.com, and this is my number. You can, in case you would like to join me on WhatsApp, you can send me a message. I like you because I am on the many of groups, pertaining to all the professions that from the insolvency. So I would add you to the relevant one, and we will of course would be happy to connect with all of you with the. Yes.
Post qualification, you should have a network with the bankers for getting the appointment or.
Okay. Taking this question in a positive sense, yes, you should have. You should have, because see, all said and done, as an insolvency professional, you have competencies and capabilities of helping the economy, and therefore you must make yourself visible to everybody who can make use of your competencies and capabilities. So it's perfectly fine that you meet anybody and everybody who is in trouble, who needs your help. So it's perfectly fine.
Can a company propose a particular name?
Oh yes, of course. As a matter of fact, if it is a financial creditor who is filing the application under Section 7 of the Code, the financial creditor has to propose a name together with the application of the insolvency professional. So if some company knows me, that company will talk to me, take Form 2 from me, and submit that together with the application. In that case, in all likelihood, I would be appointed as the insolvency professional in this case. In case of operational creditor, there is no mandatory requirement that operational creditor also has to propose. But today, practically, the benches that you have, अगर operational creditor भी application file करता है, the bench will tell कि भाई आप प्रोफेशनल IP का भी नाम आप ही प्रपोज करो, so that उनका काम बचता है टाइम सेविंग होती है.
So who appoints the professional?
Okay, so it's like this. Let's say you are ICICI, and there's a company called Nirav Modi, Gitanjali Jains, and you want to file an application against them. So when you file the application, you will under Section 7, you will file the application, and then you will propose the name of the IP with the adjudicating authority. Adjudicating authority will check with IBPI, which is the regulator, that हमें इस application के साथ में इस IP का नाम मिला है. Is this name okay with you? So they will check कि उसकी legal proceeding तो नहीं है उसके against में, या कुछ लफड़ा करके तो नहीं बैठा है. So then they will confirm. Then initially the NCLT will appoint you as the IR. So this is how the whole process happens.
So there will be empanelment under the IBVI.
Yeah, IBVI is maintaining. In any case, everybody is registered with the IBVI. So by default, you are on the record on the database of IBVI. But about a month back or 2 months back, IBVI even wrote to the IPs, in case you want to get empaneled with us, offering your services. So then you can do that as well. There are banks who would maintain panel of such IPs. So you can approach the banks and tell them that I am a qualified insolvency professional. I would like to get empaneled with you. And if that bank has got the system of empanelment, you can do that. Make yourself visible. अगर आपको लगता है कोई कंपनी का गड़बड़ हो रहा है, through your contacts, approach them. But please remember, this is not an opportunity to earn your living. earn a living, I think as a practicing cost accountant is good enough. This is an opportunity to make difference in the economy of the country. आप सोचिए कि एक कंपनी जो कि बंद होने वाली है, आप उस कंपनी के आईपी बने और आपने उस कंपनी को 180 दिन में you have brought it at the point where it can be turned around. Just imagine the kind of satisfaction that you will have. And remember, the moment you do one such case, आपको कुछ मार्केटिंग करने की जरूरत नहीं है, आपको कुछ प्रमोशन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. People will be behind you because your reputation will run faster than what you can. So people would be after you. So take this as an opportunity of making difference in the entire economy and using yourself. You are such a fantastic resource. Make full use of yourself.
No last question.
Okay.
How far it is a full-time job in those money details? Because typically,
Absolutely full time.
practically we have to.
I think anybody, it's a career by itself. It's a career by itself. Depending on what kind of organization you currently have, slowly and progressively, you should start looking at yourself as a full-time insolvency professional. So whatever practice that you have people, employ, because you can do simultaneously. So remember that there's no restriction that you can either be IP or a practicing cost accountant or chartered accountant. You can parallelly do both the things together. So as a leader, this is what you should do. आपने अपनी practice को एक मुकाम पे लेके आए हो. Now why should you run it? Now it's an opportunity for you. Start a new venture. ये किसी अपने junior को hand over कर दो. Keep the control. Hand it over to him. Let him run it. And you have another area where you can add more value. So this is how you can look at it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pramod Jain, for giving us such an elucidating presentation on how to strike the exam and how to be successful in this exam. I'll just take 5 minutes before all of you leave the presentation.